Hello and welcome back to Nerd News Today. I'm Matthew, and on this episode we are taking a look at the new Gundam Infinity series from Bandai. I grew up playing with a lot of Gundam models. I say playing with models, which is a weird thing to say, but that's what these things were. I got into the Gundam models as a kid because I found out that they were actually fully articulated and were essentially super cheap action figures you can make and customize. And that's ultimately what has been the big appeal to Gundam for me. And I have to be honest with you guys, I haven't watched a lot of the animes really at all, but I've always liked the models, I've always liked how they looked, and I've always liked the toyetic appeal of them. Now, Bandai has done some amazing work in the past few years, especially with their Gundam action figures, and giving us some very cool articulated figures. And what they're doing now with this Gundam Infinity series is they're taking a lot of the stuff that was popular about the previous figures, but actually now marking them down to a cheaper price point and essentially giving you a really great amount of army builders to make. And these are super customizable, super swappable. We're going to take a look at that in a little bit. So this is Series 1, and I've got two figures right now from that series, and that will be Barbatos and Artemis. There's 5 figures total in this series, and the ones that we're missing would be there's 5 figures total in Series 1, and the 3 that we're missing are the classic RX-78 Gundam, the Wing Gundam, and the Gundam Astray. Now, if you get all 5 of those guys, you can actually build a 6th figure, which is a Zaku, and Zakus are always like one of my favorite things in the entire Gundam series, so we'll take a look at some of those little pieces as well once you get into the review. So real quick, let's just talk about this packaging here, and as you guys can see, it is pretty small. It's, there's compact, and then there's these guys here. This is some very small packaging, very lightweight, and that's kind of nice about them, is like they're really not wasting any space. These are toys that are meant to be torn right out of the box and play with immediately. The back of the box gives you a look at what each of the figures will look like when they're fully constructed, as well as who else is in this lineup, and a peek at what the Zaku is going to look like also if you get all of the Build-A-Figure pieces. So that's it for the packaging. Let's go ahead now, switch camera angles, and get a close look at these Gundam models and see just how they really stack up. Alright, and here is our Gundam Infinity figures. We've got Artemis on this side, Barbatos over there. So let's talk, I think, first things about the general look of these guys, because these are the $10 figures, and they are definitely noticeably less detailed than what you would normally get for the $20, $25 price point for the typical Bandai figures. You're definitely, I think, missing out on some articulation for sure, and the paint job is much simpler as well. But again, for a $10 figure, I want to compare this to, like, let's say a Mattel WWE basic figure. I think you're getting pretty much your money's worth. I mean, those other Gundam figures that Bandai does are essentially the elite version, if you will, to make another comparison to the WWE figures. So, they are stripped down in this basic form here, but I don't think you're losing as much as you might think you're losing. Just maybe some of the sculpting is not quite as pronounced or as detailed as you're used to getting. Case in point, we'll talk about the heads, because I always talk about likenesses, and with Gundams, there's really not as much of a likeness as there is just, these things being giant robots. So, and for terms of like things like their faces and stuff like that, I think they still look pretty good. You haven't really lost a ton of detail. It's just kind of scaled down to a different size. I don't think they look too bad, and same with the paint application also. We're going to go right into that. I think the paint app is also, pretty clean, all things considered, for a very simple kind of paint job. Even from looking at this guy in the back, in fact, and I'll look at this guy too, they're not really missing that many details. I mean, this Barbatos has got a lot of stuff going on here. There's a lot of different tech things happening all over this robot's body here, but it all looks like it's there. I mean, I don't think you have to worry too much about detail missing, even at a price point like this, because these are Gundam models at the end of the day, and Gundam has had decades to figure out what they're doing and how to make models pretty affordable and also still have a lot of details. So I think one of the major points about this $10 price point also is the articulation. And I was wondering, how much do we lose? How much do we have? So let us go ahead and find out here. I'm going to use, let's see, Barbatos here. So his head is ball jointed, actually. Oh, wow. Yeah, okay. I did not expect this. So all their heads are ball jointed. The shoulder pads here move up and down. That's good to know. So did his. We have ball jointed shoulder. We have, looks like a single jointed elbow. I wasn't sure if it was a double joint or not. It appears to be a single jointed elbow. Yep, okay. We've got wrists that are also kind of ball jointed, because that's the Gundam style. The waist turns, ball jointed legs that do have some hindrance, depending on the figure, I guess, and what's in their way. But we've got a single jointed knee, and we've got good ankle rotation. So I'm going to be honest, for $10, that's actually a lot of articulation. And again, that credit goes a lot more to the fact that that's how Gundam models have been made for years. They've always had great articulation, even in model form. That's one of the things that everybody loves about them. So you're not losing any of that here at this $10 price point. That's amazing. And one of the things we haven't had a chance to talk about yet with these Gundams is the customization of all these figures, because this is, I think, the really cool part about the Gundam Infinities, is that their parts are all interchangeable. You could pop out anybody onto anybody here. Let's see, I'm going to try and grab a joint. Let's pop out, well, there's the shoulder piece. Let's pop out, and let's knock out our Artemis, I guess, while we're at it. Let's go ahead and we'll pop this arm off as well, just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But everything uses the same size ball joint So there you go. You could easily swap out different pieces, switch things around, which means you've got a lot of customization. And even on the back of the packaging, that's one of the things they show you is the fact that, yes, you can, in fact, customize your own Gundam the way you want it, taking all the parts and pieces, swapping them around and mixing them up. And I think that is very, very cool. So that's that part about them, but they also each have their own accessories, by the way. I think we should spend some time on that here. So we'll give Barbatos his giant mace-looking thing. Again, I don't really follow Gundam as much as I want to. That arm popping off is my fault, by the way. I didn't snap it on all the way. I don't really follow the Gundam animes that well, so I don't know what the names of any of the weapons are. I just know that I've always liked how everything in the Gundam world has looked, and that's why I've been a fan of the models, and especially the toys, more so than the animes themselves, which is a weird thing, but that's the truth. So it looks like all these characters do have, though, their unique armaments and their unique weapons here, and that's what matters to me. And I've just always liked how all these weapons and things look anyway. So here's, I guess, Artemis has some wings, as well as this giant thing here, which I believe attaches to the top of this gun, perhaps. Oh yeah, I think this actually goes in a different spot. I think that's how that's supposed to be. Actually, I've got that on backwards. I just realized. Let me do that fix right now in real time. All right, take 2 of the Artemis weapon thingy. It's close enough for my money. That's how that's going to look right there. So yeah, they all can hold their weapons, and the weapons are also interchangeable among each other. If you want to have them swap weapons, you can totally do that, no problem. They're looking nice. I mean, I like I said, I've always just been a fan of the classic Gundam looks, and these are very cool Gundams. I don't really know much at all about Barbatos, but I like his very kind of modern look. Now, we also mentioned that these Gundam Infinity figures have a Build-A-Figure, and that would be a Zaku. So Artemis came with this headpiece right here, and Barbatos came with the weapons. So unfortunately, I can't really show you much of what this Build-A-Figure is going to look like, but you can get an idea pretty much right here of what the detail looks like of this head and these other figures. It will be, of course, in scale with them, so that's going to be about how tall it'll be. Zaku is one of my favorites, so I'd actually seek out this entire wave just to get that Zaku, because they're just such a cool looking robot also. They're hands down my favorites, besides maybe like the Death Scythe Gundam and the Heavy Arms Gundam. But Zakus are always exciting to me. I just like the green ones, the red ones, all their different looks. They're just, yeah, that's a different video for another day, I think, all about my love for Zakus. But one last little quick note also before we move on here is I want to show you guys the height officially of these figures. They're a little under 5 inches tall, it would appear. So with all their accessories, they're about 5. So yeah, that's pretty much what I was expecting from them. I mean, they're nice 5-inch figures. I think what's really cool about these types of figures, though, is the fact that they are so customizable that you can mix and match parts. And if this line really continues to grow, I can see folks having a lot of fun just making their own Gundams. And more importantly, at the $10 price point, I mean, if you're still buying the better versions, if you will, the elite version of the Gundams that have more articulation, that have the better sculpting, these Gundams are going to be great for army building. That, to me, is the #1 appeal of the Infinity series, is the ability to make army builders. That's what you've got here, folks. So if you buy a bunch of these things here, you're going to get a lot of Gundams very quickly. You're going to fill out a nice army of things. You can get the same ones, whatever. All that matters is that you will have an army. You can really flesh out your collection at an affordable price point. That's something that I feel like Gundam has not had in toy form yet. Other than, of course, buying more models and doing it that way. But, that can get expensive too. I think in action figure form, it's keeping things pretty affordable. So yeah, I think this Gundam Infinity series is very exciting. I'm really interested in seeing what they're going to do with the series, what characters they're going to make next. And on that note, I would love to hear you hardcore Gundam fans, what you want to see from this Gundam Infinity series. What mechs do you want to see Bandai make next for this lineup, and what's the next Zaku you'd like to see also? So if you'd like to pick up any of these Gundam Infinity figures for yourself, we're going to have links to Entertainment Earth, to Big Bad Toy Store, to Amazon.com. If you use any of those links, they help us out tremendously, so please consider clicking those if you want to purchase any of these figures we looked at today, and any of the others in the series. I think Gundam Infinity is off to a great start, and I have a lot of faith in Bandai. They're going to make some awesome stuff, because Bandai makes really great toys to begin with. I've rarely had any issues with any Bandai figures we've looked at on this channel. I like them all, even if it's from franchises I don't know much about. They're always really good looking toys. And that's kind of what I love about Bandai too, is they're just making nice stuff. And this isn't me kissing butt, it's just the truth. I feel like Bandai does not get enough love from a lot of the typical collectors who I talk to, a lot of the folks who I deal with on my channel, because I'm doing stuff like wrestling figures or Marvel Legends. Gundam is a whole other thing, and Bandai and anime tend to be a whole other area. I wish more folks who were into those toys would check out some of these Bandai figures, and maybe they'd convert themselves as well. So that's our look at 2 of the figures from the first wave of the Gundam Infinity series from Bandai. I really dig them, and if you're a Gundam fan, I'm pretty sure you're going to like them 10 times more than I already do. So until next time, I'm Matthew. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys here next time on Nerd News Today.